definitely a number going up. I wonder if I'm streaming now. Presumably I am. Let's head over to the PC. Welcome people. People in the future. Oh, look at that. There I am. Let's just make sure the sound's coming through okay, shall we? There I am. Let's just make sure the sound's coming through okay, shall we? The sound is indeed coming through. Right, looks like we're going to be streaming. Some people who are joining me will no doubt have noticed the amazing thumbnail that I have. I don't normally have amazing thumbnails, do I? But this time around I posted on the forum, because I never make thumbnails, so I posted on the forum that I was going to be streaming, and I made a joke about, imagine that I had a really good thumbnail, and look what Goz did! Goz made me a thumbnail! What a lovely, lovely man! I'm deeply touched by this move. Thank you very much, Goz. So I have, of course, used it. There was a space to plug it in, and it was fairly easy for me to figure out how to do it. So I have used it for this review. Don't expect this kind of service in the future. I can't afford to pay him for this kind of quality content all the time. But since I have one, since he's made me, out of the goodness of his heart, a lovely thumbnail, I thought I would have it. Is anybody in? How do I know? I don't know how it works. I mean, it says there's one person in, but that's probably talking about me, isn't it? So I don't know if anybody's joined. And then there's the whole chat thing. I should probably be able to figure out chat. Does chat do anything? Oh, I've turned... Look, there's an icon there and it's changed colour. Shall we leave that colour? See if it makes any difference at all. Let's do that. Well, I suppose we'll crack on. There are people in the Discord. So I know that there are people around. So I guess we will crack on. We've spent a little bit of time, haven't we? Giving people a chance to get in while we've been talking about the thumbnail. So let us go over to the release notes. Well, do you know what? Before we start talking about... what is this new set called? Outlaws of Thunder Junction. What's that about? Cowboys? What's going on with Magic? It's all weird now. It's all like Fallout and Cowboy Bebop and Doctor Who. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm British. By law, I have to be a Doctor Who fan. I will be arrested if I'm not a fan of Doctor Who. But in Magic the Gathering, really? Oh, hey, Shmara. Hey, who's that as well? Hey, Mads. A couple of people in. So, yeah, Cowboys, that's weird, isn't it? And murder mysteries. I don't think Murders has been a success in paper. I was watching a video, I mean, just one video. It's a Tellurian Community College guy, you know, the guy on YouTube. He talks about paper, and he was saying he didn't think that MKM was a success. So I suppose when I say I don't think it's been a success, what I mean is I watched one video that said it wasn't a success. Hello, who else is in? Roy, hello, welcome in. So I just wanted to say I think MKM was all right for us, wasn't it? In Magic Puzzle Quest. There's a few good cards. It was a load of sucky mechanics that I didn't like, and we're going to get onto that because the mechanics in this set also seem like they suck. But aside from the sucky mechanics and the simple tokens, which I hate, and a disguise thing, which is just completely over-engineered. Suspect. Anyone remember Suspect? Anyone played with a single Suspect card ever for any reason? Okay, that's Agris Kos. I don't have Agris Kos yet, but it doesn't matter that he gives things suspects. We're not playing him because he gives things suspects. We're playing because he kills creatures. But anyway, I feel quite good about, with hindsight, Murders, because there are at least 2 cards that I really like. 2? No, 3. At least 3 cards that I really like Duretti and the Leyline and the Rakdos. You know, so with hindsight, I feel okay about Murders. I do want to say I'm a bit worried about Standard at the moment. Honestly, I think we might be we might be approaching a point where we might need to nerf Galter, don't you think? I think so. And I wanted to say this up top because I'm probably going to be ranting on about Galter. If I'm ever, during the process of this set review, if I'm ever hypothesizing a game that I'm worried about that I might be losing, there's only one at the moment. There's only one top tier deck in standard at the moment. So yes, so it's going to be Galter non-stop. Well, every card that comes up, I'm going to be like, well, this is okay, but with Galter, you know. So that's going to get a bit boring, but I thought I'd just give you fair warning that that's going to go on. Nerf Galter, that's what I'm saying. Nerf Galter. Everybody get on the Nerf Galter train. We're all going to Nerf Galter. Right, that is plenty of preamble. Let us get on with the new set, shall we? Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which is fucking cowboys for some reason. New mechanics. Crime is an evergreen. I've got to take them to task over that at some point. It's not an evergreen, is it? It's a keyworded ability. It's not an evergreen. That's not what an evergreen is. An evergreen that provides buffs to cards if the player has the crime emblem. When a player casts a spell with crime, that player's planeswalker will gain a crime emblem if they have one. When casting new spells with crime, I think they mean cards rather than spells, but, you know, cards are spells in paper. That's probably where that's come from. Additional effects will occur if the player has the crime emblem. Some spells can remove the crime emblem. If this happens, the player must play a new spell with crime. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Spell crime deals 3 damage to target creature. If you committed a crime, destroy that creature instead. Now, this bugs me. I've talked about this on the forum already. It bugs me that this is such a limited mechanic again. We had this with Collect Evidence in Murders at Karloff Manor. You know, the paper version was a really expansive mechanic that had synergy with loads and loads of different... Every card in the game that had a mana cost. And then they created this simple token thing, so there was hardly any synergy with anything. And they've done it again with crime, and I don't like it. I don't like the fact that crime only has synergy with other crime cards. Because let's face it, how many crime cards are there going to be? They're going to print, you know, if they print 50, that's a huge number. They're probably 30, maybe 20 crime cards. Maybe 5 of them will be playable. Maybe 2 of them will be playable. Maybe none of them will be playable. So I do not like these narrow mechanics. I'm not happy about it. I don't like the way that they've ported it out. It's only in the last couple of sets that I've started looking at what the mechanics were like in paper. Yeah? Like when Escalate, when we got Escalate in Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest, that just went past me. I looked at it and I went, no, that's rubbish. It's just Proliferate 2. But at the time, I didn't know what it was in paper. I didn't know what we were missing. I would have been much more annoyed about it if I'd known what we were missing with Escalate. But in recent years, I've started actually looking at what the paper mechanics were like, and it makes me sad. In paper, you commit a crime if you target something your opponent controls, like a permanent, or a card in his graveyard, or the player itself. Yeah. So again, there's a lot of synergy there. You can commit crimes with all kinds of cards, but here you can only commit crimes with a very narrow amount of cards. Anyway, I mean, maybe it will still be good. Like I say, Murders had some great cards. Shit mechanics had some great cards. You can still make a good set with shit mechanics. Crime, shit mechanic. Moving on. Saddle. Saddle is a numbered evergreen that is applied to creatures with a mount subtype. Okie doke, that makes perfect sense. At the beginning of combat on each player's turn, if that player controls another creature with power equal or greater than the mount's saddle number, that creature with saddle becomes saddled. That creature with saddle becomes saddled. The mount becomes saddled, they mean. Another creature. They just mean there's two... That's confusing the way they've written it. They just mean there's 2 creatures. They mean there's a mount, and then if there's a creature big enough, then it sits on the mount. That's all they mean, isn't it? A saddled creature can trigger an effect when it attacks or when it becomes saddled. Oh, okay, so just for coming into play. But also gains the can't block, well, we don't care about that, until the beginning, and it's the last creature to attack. Now, obviously, I hate that. Just moving creatures around is utterly pointless. It's just asking for bugs, and it just means fucking nothing. I don't really mind the idea of a mechanic where you have a creature, and then if you have another creature of a certain size, a thing happens. It's not inherently a good mechanic because creatures are bad in Magic Puzzle Quest, you know? It's bad enough keeping one creature on the table, but having to have two creatures and one of them turns the other one on, you know, steady. It's not, you know, it's not inherently a great mechanic, but it's not offensive to me, you know. At least there's synergy there between creatures and creatures of a certain size, as opposed to crime and crime. Card examples: Legendary Saddle 3, when it becomes saddled, create a gold token. Creature Horror Mount, Saddle 3, when it becomes saddled, you may destroy target creature. I mean, fine, yeah, okay. When it becomes saddled, you may destroy target creature, fine. Or you could just cast a spell that says destroy target creature. You know, this is the problem that we're going to get, isn't it? And there it is. There's my shopping. Give me just a second, people. Hang on. I'm right on a Zoom call. Can you just leave it in the crate and I'll give you back next time? Is that all right? All right, thank you very much. Righty-ho. Hopefully. So he's going to dump the crates at my door. I'll put the freezer stuff in the freezer. Hopefully there shouldn't be too much of an interruption. That was Saddle. Let's move on to Plot. Let's just see what's going on in the chat. Mayluke likes the thumbnail. Yeah, I love the thumbnail, mate. It's great, isn't it? Stuff. Okie doke. Let's move on to Plot. This is a numbered evergreen. A card with Plot may be exiled from a player's hand by paying a specific amount of mana. It then gains the plotted emblem. This is going to be something like cycling then. At the end of turn, if a card with Plot has the plotted emblem, it loses the Plot evergreen and returns to hand with full mana. Cards may have additional effects if they have the plotted emblem. So what's going on here is, yeah, it's basically like cycling. You exile a card from your hand, you pay an amount of mana by draining it from itself and the rest of the cards in hand. We don't really like to do that. Nobody really liked draining mana for Disguise, did they? Anyone play with Disguise? But the difference between this and cycling is that cycling is a cheap effect, which... Oh, hang on a sec, there's a knock on the door. Any substitution? Great, thank you very much. Cheers then. Just running past my tablet on my way to my freezer to put my freezer things away. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, nobody's going to steal the rest of that stuff off my front doorstep, I hope. Joy might, I suppose, if she turns up. That's okay. Where were we? Yes, Plot. So, cycling. You're paying a little bit of mana to draw a card. With this, you're getting the same card back again with full mana, but it has an extra effect too. So, it's a bit ugly. I don't really like it. I like the effect in paper. You know, what happens in paper is that you pay a bit more for it now. You pay the plot cost for the card now rather than casting it. And then the card exiles, and then you can play it completely for free on a later turn. And the idea is that it's good for Johnny Combo players. But, you know, Johnny Combo players are already well represented in this game, to be perfectly honest, you know. There's no real need to set up one big turn later on. You can just play a Galter and have a big turn right now. Markup, if you're marking up on the bingo card, you want to put at least, I don't know, at least 36 of the squares need to have Galta written in them. You can put them where you like, but try not to make them all in one line. It's going to make it very easy to get a bingo if you do that. But I would create a lot of squares that say Galta for the set review bingo today. So plot seems a bit ugly to me, but we'll see how it goes. It's not. It seems probably better than crime, to be perfectly honest. What else do we have? Spree! Spree is a numbered emblem that a planeswalker will have while a spree card is in their deck. Cards with spree have an evergreen that grants effects to the card when a player casts a card with spree and matches an equal or higher spree count with a spree effect until the end of the opponent's turn. For each gem match, increase the spree counter by 1. Then the end of the turn, the counter returns to 0. Okay, so every match you get, and I'm reliably informed by, I believe I'm on Main Loop, who got the Spree pre-release card. Incidentally, where's my pre-release card? It didn't turn up. I checked my letterbox every day for my pre-release card, dropping onto my doorstep. It just never turned up. Bloody postal system, honestly. So, when you make a match, includes, gem conversion. You don't have to make a swap to make a match. So it does really seem like, in that case, this is really playing up for the Johnny Combo players. It's not too hard to get to make a cascade by just making a move. It's not too hard to do that. You know, I like to play with lands. They tend to make matches. You know, my Renin 6, that tends to make quite a few matches when you activate that. But this does seem skewed towards the Johnny Combo players. I'm slightly concerned. Can anyone think of a card that perhaps a 15/15 creature that's particularly good at setting up big combo turns at the moment? Anyone think of one of those? So I'm a little concerned about Spree, but we will see. Again, it was better in paper. It was better in paper. Outlaw is a hidden subtype applied to all creatures with the subtypes assassins, rogues, pirates, warlocks, and mercenaries. Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this was, oh God, they've done fucking simple tokens again, haven't they? I'm sorry, I feel like I'm swearing a lot today. Oh, that's what I do. Yes, that's right. But apparently this is directly from paper. This hidden subtype with loads of sub-subtypes is, yeah, they are, aren't they? Sub-subtypes. It's directly from paper, so I can't blame Webcore for this one. So we're just going to have to learn to live with it. Again, it seems a bit ugly, doesn't it? But it's not Webcore's fault. Let's move on to the new Planeswalkers. Quick look at the chat there. I like Spree. I hope Spree cards don't auto-cast. Yeah. I think it was Nalthazar who got the Spree. Was it Nalthazar who got the Spree card? Maybe it was Nalthazar who got the Spree card. Let's have a look at Oko. Now, Oko, in my opinion, is one of the worst Planeswalkers that we already have. Not this guy, but the one that we've got. And it's not necessarily because he's so low power. I mean, he's certainly more powerful than Chandra 1. He's just such a pain in the arse to play. I hate playing original Oko. So I hope this guy's better. Let's see what we've got. We've got fairly unimpressive mana, isn't it? Fairly unimpressive. It's like Tamio the other way around, his mana, isn't it? You know, which is not so good. We like 3 lots of 3s, wouldn't we? I think we'd prefer that. I'm supposed to like flat mana. Sharp will tell you that I'm always saying that I prefer mana when it's flatter and it's not really bumpy at one end and has really low troughs at the other end. Really, it's the low troughs that bug me rather than the bumps. Don't mind high mana, I just don't like very, very low -2s. I hate those things. 7 loyalty, create 4 gold tokens, draw 2 cards. Then, if you committed a crime, those cards gain half their mana, round down. Otherwise, you gain the crime emblem. I mean, I mean, I guess gold tokens do create mana, don't they? I think, I was saying this in Discord earlier, I just think there should be more Planeswalkers who just have Ral's first ability, basically. He doesn't have to look exactly like it, but, you know, 6 loyalty, there's a card, there's most of the money you need to cast it, off you go, mate. There really aren't a lot of cards like that. And this doesn't seem a lot like that to me. You know, you've got to commit a crime in order to actually get the mana in these cards. That's not going to happen straight away. Probably. I don't know, maybe it will. It seems unlikely it'll happen straight away. I suppose you get 4 gold tokens. So, I mean, I guess it is 2 cards. It's a reasonable ability, I suppose. This might even be what you need to play with Necropsy. There's that Collect Evidence card in the last set, wasn't there, that does like a one-sided Great Aurora. It's like a Ruinous Ultimatum for 12 mana. But you need to get simple tokens from somewhere. And there aren't a lot of good places to get simple tokens from. Maybe this is a good place to get simple tokens from. It is a green card. Partner Duplicate, 10 loyalty. Create a copy of target non-token creature you control into your hand. It gains full mana. Then, if you committed a crime, reinforce that creature. That's pretty damn powerful, really, isn't it? I'm gonna say it. How can you not? How can you not say it? You know, you're just gonna go boom. I'll have another Galta, please, for 10 loyalty. So that's a pretty good ability, really, isn't it? You know, you don't. I know you can play with other cards other than Galta, but realistically, what are you going to copy? I don't know. I suppose as a player, I'm probably not always going to play Galta going forwards because it might just win too fast. So there might be other things I might want to copy. But it's Galta. Create 3 Grand Heist tokens for 15 loyalty. Then if you committed a crime, create 8 gold tokens. Let's see what Grand Heist tokens do. Indestructible. When a gold token is destroyed, fetch a random card from your opponent's hand. So you take a card from their hand. If you can't fetch the first card from your opponent's library, then that card gains full mana. So I'm stealing a card from my opponent's hand. This is what it looks like to me. I'm stealing a card from my opponent's hand and it's getting full mana. Yeah, that full mana looks like it applies to both of the different clauses, yeah? You either get a card from their hand or, presumably, the only reason that you can't is because they don't have any cards in their hand. You get the first card from their library, then it gains full mana. There are 8 gold tokens on the board if you committed a crime. You'd hope there are some good crime cards you might have been able to commit a crime by now. You don't really want to do the thing where there's synergy between the first and the third abilities. Not at this cost, do you? I don't mind synergy between the first and third abilities, but the first ability needs to be a lot cheaper. Like, you know, Ob Nixilis. He's got synergy between his first and third. His first ability, a lot cheaper. So, I don't know, he seems okay. Oko, doesn't he? He seems alright. He is green and blue. Those are 2 good colours. Yeah. Seems okay. And maybe those 4 gold tokens are actually going to generate a decent amount of mana. Seems alright. Seems alright. Not completely broken, but... Oh, look who it is! It's Doretti! Oh, how much do I love the Vanguard Doretti? It's so surgical. It's so lovely. So, I have had a look at this guy. He's not as good as the Vanguard. It's a shame. Let's see what we've got going on here. Destroy the top 6 cards of your library. Then return the first 2 artifact cards from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Well, there might even be one of those after the first activation with destroying the top 6. 9's a bit expensive though, isn't it? Then those cards gain X mana. X is 2 plus the number of non-artifact cards in all graveyards times 2 up to 15. So, I mean, clearly you're looking for cards that dump your library into your graveyard doing this. You have not got access to cut your losses, I notice. First 2 artifact cards, those cards gain X mana. X is 2 plus the number of non-artifact cards up to 15. It's okay, it just looks a bit expensive for 9, you know? I guess it's okay. Just, you know, I like my first ability to be, you know, something I can do a lot in the early game. Like, that's looking like a second ability to me. Does anyone else feel like that? Yes, we do, Steve. We all agree with every word that you say, and that's why we're here. Tower Defense creates 6 scrap cog chair tokens. What the fuck is a scrap cog chair token? It's a spider. It's got can't attack and defender. So you're putting a 0/12 into play with defender. Okay. When an opposing creature attacks, deal X damage to that creature. X is the number of this creature's reinforcements. Okay. So it's kind of a 6/12 defender. Seems expensive at 15 loyalty, doesn't it? Seems very expensive. First ability looks better than the second ability. I can say that for free. Deal X damage to each opposing target. Well, X better be a lot because, you know, we don't like dealing damage. X is the number of artifact cards you control, including their reinforcements. Then reinforce your artifact cards 3 times. I mean, I can't get excited about that. I know Blade Coil Serpent is an artifact, isn't it? So when I think about what expensive artifacts am I going to be pumping up and reinforcing, my brain goes there. Blade Coil Serpent is not what it once was, is it? The problem with Blade Coil Serpent now is that sometimes you just cast it. You used to be able to cast it and it would be like, oh my god, it's a Blade Coil Serpent. And sometimes these days you cast a Blade Coil Serpent and it just comes into play and it's a creature and you're like, haven't you won the game yet? And it's like, no, I'm just a fucking 5/4 creature, mate. Sorry. I don't do that anymore. I got old. So, I don't know. I'm definitely not excited about Duretti. I could almost see myself getting Oko. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't played with Lord Windgrace yet, you know. I feel about Lord Oko the same way I feel about Lord Windgrace, you know. Maybe he's okay, I don't know. So, if that helps you, then, then bully for you. Anything else have we got? We've got an event, which I really can't be asked. No, fucking who cares? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. Blah blah with the event. Blah blah blah. Authority of the consoles is the only thing I wanted to touch on here. And can I say hooray? It does seem they've done a weird thing with Authority of the Consoles. It does seem like they changed the card. They noticed that the card didn't work according to the rules and made it worthless. Yeah, so they changed the card so it did work according to the rules, and that's what made it worthless. That's what I meant to say. And now it seems like they're going to change the rules because they want to make another card, which is Torpor Orb, that is like it, and they don't want that card to be worthless. And it feels like they shouldn't really be changing the rules to do that. We did tell them how to change the words on the cards. Anyway, what it means is that, hooray, Authority of the Consoles isn't going to be shit. And maybe Torpor Orb will be pretty neat as well. You know? Because Torpor Orb is going to stop creatures coming into play and having activated abilities like Galta and like Blossoming Tortoise. And I like the fact that it will do that. So, shall we crack on and have a look at the actual cards? Yes, Steve, let's do that. And here we are. My word, I actually remembered what... Normally when I close Facebook like that and I go and do something else in a different app, Facebook forgets where it is. It's like the Magic Puzzle Quest app. But here it is. And we can crack straight on with Abraded Bluffs. This is a common land with 4 shields. Something's up already, isn't it? Shouldn't it, if it's common, shouldn't it have 2 shields? Shouldn't it be rubbish? When this support enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage to your opponent's planeswalker and each creature they control. Do you know what? Fuck it. I like that. Why the hell not? Why the hell not? You know, it's nothing, but I don't care. But you know, why not? At the beginning of your turn, convert 4 gems. This is quite a good card for a common, isn't it? Shouldn't this be like a 2/2 defender that kills you if it dies? So yeah, welcome to the new world of webcore thinking that lands are worth making. So yes, it's nice to have good lands at common. It will help everybody cast their spells. No downsides. No downsides? I don't think so. I don't think there are downsides to living in a world where there are good lands. Answers on a postcard. Ackle the Unrepentant. Scorpion Dragon Rogue. Okay. I mean, that really looks like AI artwork on that card, doesn't it? I bet Wizards have said that they don't accept AI artwork, but I bet people still submit AI artwork and they don't check up on all of it, to be perfectly honest. At the beginning of your turn, you may have target creature you control lose a reinforcement. When a creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement during your turn, the first creature card in your hand gains full mana. Full mana is always some good words to have a card. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, reinforce that creature. So it's a 7/7 for 13 mana. That's a decent sized body. You may have target creature that you control lose a reinforcement. And if you do, but also when just something gets shot, the first creature card in your hand gains full mana. It seems okay, doesn't it? Seems alright. It combos well with Thop to Spy Network, Steve, doesn't it? Yeah, whatever. Yes, it's okay. I'm not into the losing reinforcements mechanic, but it's okay. It's okay. High shit tier. We started early, haven't we, with high shit tiers? That's nearly. I don't know if this is God shit tier. I don't think this is God shit tier. A card has to be really good to be God shit tier. I know there is a card coming up later on. One of the spoiled cards is definitely God shit tier. See if you can guess which one it is. I think this is high shit tier, to be honest. But it's good, isn't it? Maybe it's even great. Who knows? I'm not going to be chasing it. Hello, Alchemist. Hello, Alchemist. This is a plant warlock who has plot 6. Okay, so if you remember, we can cycle this. Instead of paying the 6 mana to play it, we can pay 6 mana, exile it, and then it comes back, and if we do that, then next turn, a creature you control at random gets +4/+2 and gains trample until the beginning of your next turn. I mean, I don't know why we even bothered reading that. Clearly we don't care about that happening for plot 6. Clearly we don't want to jump through hoops to get that kind of tiny little effect. We want a plot card that's rare, probably, at the very least. Ambush Gigapede. There you go, that's what a common's supposed to look like. You don't make a bloody land that does 4 gems and has 4 shields and is affordable. You make it a 16 mana 6/2 with flash that gives an opposing creature -3/-3. That's what a common looks like. We move on. It is at least permanent. It is. They have at least not put the words until end of turn on it, so I can't rant about that specific thing. Angel of the Ruins. 24 mana is a lot, isn't it? When this creature enters the battlefield, exile all other creatures and supports, but not vanguards. Then, exile all cards from your hand and from the opponent's hand. "24 mana seems like a bit much to me. I am looking for things. I am going to be looking for cards going forward that deal with a certain 15/15 green creature. Yeah? because I mean, up until now, basically, I've always felt like you can deal with an offensive lineup of Galters and Atraxas and Tortoises that comes down unexpectedly with a big Wrath of God spell. And we have really good Wrath of God spells. You know, we had a couple of really good ones in the last set, didn't we? We had Push Pull and we had No Witnesses. What's going to concern me, I think, going forward is the fact that a big Galter turn might drop a really powerful support in play. So you can't just, like I don't know, a demolition field. So you cannot just count on recovering from a big Galter turn with a Wrath of God. And let's not forget, you're behind anyway on that turn because he's got more loyalty than you have. Yeah? So I have been thinking about the Great Aurora again, which is a nice card that never really sees enough play. You don't really want to blow up your own stuff. But, you know, I've been looking at it because I might want to blow up creatures and supports. And this is a thing that blows up creatures and supports and shreds everybody's hand. But it is 24 mana. So I feel like it might be a bit expensive. Interesting that it has cycling, and not especially relevant, I think. Because what else are you going to go looking for? Frankly, do you know what I mean? Put cycling cards in your deck because you've got specific things you want to go looking for. And the card in your deck that you probably want to go looking for is probably this one, really, if this is how you're going to save yourself from being galtered to death. So it looks okay, but it looks a bit expensive for me, and I think that probably means it's going to sit on the shelf. Who knows? You know, there are plenty of ways of filling cards full of mana. So who knows? Annie Flash, the veteran, human rogue. When this creature enters the battlefield, return the first... This is an 18 mana 4/5 with Flash. Return the first creature or support card with mana cost 10 or less from your graveyard to your hand. That card gains full mana. That's not especially interesting to me. For an 18 mana, you're paying 18 mana, you're getting a 4/5 body, which isn't particularly interesting. And then a creature or support with mana cost 10 or less. I mean, I feel like you could have just put that card with mana cost 10 or less into your hand and paid for it and put it into play. When this creature attacks, there is more, thank God. Exile the top 4 cards of your library. Then return the first 2 cards from exile to your hand. Those cards gain half their mana rounded down. So that's a Chimil-like effect, isn't it? That's giving you 2 cards with half their mana in it. Now, I don't know if any of you out there have played with Chimil much, but I find playing with Chimil that, like, you just end up with loads and loads and loads of cards with half their mana in them. You end up exiling them, you know? Because you can't fill them up. I mean, if you can fill them up, hooray, you're jolly good, you know? But, you know, if you've got a deck that can always draw a million cards and always fill them up with mana all the time, then bully for you. Play that all the time. I hope you have lots of fun with it, you know? So I think you're just going to end up with a few too many cards. Wouldn't it be nice if you had 1 card that had full mana rather than 2 cards with half their mana? It's a powerful effect. But, I mean, yes, this is the thing. I think I would much rather have a Zyatera's Envoy. If you think about that, yeah? That is a card that does that, isn't it? You know, this is drawing 2 cards with half their mana, and very often the Zyatera's Envoy, it's putting 15 mana into a card. You Johnnies will say to me, well, that's only half mana on a card, but I'm a spike. I'm saying everything I play costs 15 or less mana anyway. I think I'd rather have a Zyatera's Envoy than this card. It's okay. We move along. There's some terrible, terrible alternate art. Annie joins up. When this support enters the board, the first opposing Vanguard support loses 5 shield. Otherwise, deal 5 damage to the first opposing creature. It's weird putting it on this on an enchantment. That is a poor effect. It's okay making a Vanguard lose 5 shields. It's not okay dealing 5 damage to a creature. Who cares about that? When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it's legendary, create a copy in your hand. It doesn't gain full mana. It's not a good card, is it? It's not a good card. It is a bad card. Another round. When you make a match by swap, if this card is in your hand, increase this card's level by 1. Right. These level cards that sit in your hand and go up levels, they're never really very good, are they? Create a copy in your hand of each creature you control. Then those cards gain full mana. I mean, presumably, so it's not copying tokens then. I don't think you're supposed to think about that when you read this. I think when you read it, I think they've written this card assuming that you'll just get excited when you read it. I don't think they've written it assuming that you're going to think about what it does. Then those cards gain full mana. Reinforce each creature you control X times X is this creature level. I'm bully for you. Fair enough. I suppose. So you need some creatures in play. Well, I suppose you don't need creatures in play while you're leveling up. So that's something. But you need some creatures in play in order to cast it. You'd rather have a card that put those creatures into play than have one that, that powers them up when they're there. So it might be okay. Mightn't it? I know some people have got excited about this card. Not that excited, presumably, but it might be okay. It looks a bit win more to me, but maybe it wins more so quickly that maybe that's what makes it good. Keep an eye out for it. Anyway, it might be a thing. Bear in mind that it might get played against you. And kill your opponent's creature. Do people not do that? Am I the only person who just tries to make sure I end every turn with everything that Greg owns dead? Yeah? Do people just leave other people's things in play? I know Greg leaves other things in play, but that's because he's stupid. Yeah? But really, if you can, you do try and kill everything that you possibly can, don't you? You should play like that. If you're not playing like that, you should play like that. Here is our saddle card. This is one of the spoiled cards. I thought this was maybe this was Nalthazar who spoiled this card. And this didn't look too awful, I suppose. It's a 14 mana, 4/2. When this creature attacks, if it's saddled, exile the first spell card from your library. Then create a copy of that card in your hand. Right. Well, I don't know why it doesn't just fetch it, but fair enough. Then the last 2 cards in your hand gain full mana. Wow. Otherwise, the last 2 cards in your hand gain half a mana. So this is written a bit weirdly, but I think what this is saying is that if this is saddled, so if you've got this and you also have a 3-power creature, then when you hit your opponent, you fetch a spell from your library, it gains full mana, something else gains full mana. If you don't have another creature and you just have this, you do all that, but those 2 cards gain half mana. See, 2 cards gaining half mana. Oh, but you're gaining both of those cards, whereas with this one, you're gaining one of them. But this one does give you the potential of. I shouldn't be trying to compare. They're not directly compared. They're quite similar, but I'm sure there are reasons why you'd play one and reasons why you'd play the other. I don't find this particularly offensive. I like the fact that 14 mana is 4 less mana than 18 mana. That's what I like about it, I suppose. I don't find it too offensive that it exists. Am I still playing Zayatra's Envoy? I think I'm still playing Zayatra's Envoy just because it comes online quicker. I need to play this and something else. I'd rather just have a single creature that does the thing. Or, you know, a Teferi that does the thing. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, that goes, bop, I'll have a card, it's in my hand, it's got loads of mana in it now. This is, I think, is probably going to be the problem with Saddle. This does, though, if you don't have the creature, if you don't have the extra creature, it does give those cards half mana, and you do fetch a thing. You are fetching a spell. You might even play with just one spell and fetch something in particular that you like. I don't know, like a Golden Wish or a Tempt with Discovery or something really gross like that. You could be doing those things. So, yeah, worth a look. Again, I'm not really going to be chasing him down. I feel like we're going to see. I mean, we're only at A, and we've already seen 2 versions of this card. So I feel like there's probably going to be. Do you remember in the last set? You know, there were a million rubbish creatures that investigated that we didn't care about. I mean, if that's going to be the theme of this set, we're just going to get a million different creatures that draw cards and put half their mana in. Then that's not a bad problem to be suffering from, is it? What have we got here? This looks like another land. Oh, it's not. No, this is an uncommon land. I thought it was going to be one of these damagey lands. But this one says, when it enters the board, return another support card you control to your hand. Right, we don't really like doing that because supports don't tend to do a thing when they come into play. If you can't destroy this card. Oh, so that this is kind of a Lotus Veil thing from paper. Presumably that's what it does in paper, is it? It blows up one of your lands and it's an extra big land. And it indeed is an extra big land. Convert 5 gems to the most present colour on the board. I mean, I don't like it. I'm going to play with the land that gives the mana. I'm not going to play this that requires me to have something else first, and then I don't really know what's going to get bounced anyway. And then maybe I play the thing. Yeah, and then I play this and bounce the other thing, and then I go, haha, I've done all that and I've got a land, and my opponent goes, demolish up your arse. So I don't really like it, but it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, is it? I guess what I mean to say is that I don't mind the fact that it exists, but I'm definitely not going to play with it. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. Armored Armadillo! This has Ward. This is a 0/4 creature with Ward. Okay. Drain 3 mana. When you cast a non-creature card, this creature gets +X +0. X is this creature's toughness. Oh, for a minute there I thought it was going to say X is the casting cost of that spell. That would be good, wouldn't it? So when you played a tempting Attempt with Discovery, this suddenly became a 25/4 creature. That would be all right. We could talk about that. No, it becomes a 4/4. It's not interesting. It does get it until end of turn. It's not a permanent pump. We don't care much. While this support is in play, your first creature your opponent controls is disabled. This is a big suppression bonds so far. 15 mana, 3 shields. This is like casting 3 suppression bonds in 1 card, and I'm here for that. And there's more. And I think this is going to be an upside and not a downside. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, gain control of the last opposing creature until end of turn. See, I don't mind it saying until end of turn. If it's disabled, enable it, then that creature gains haste. So we're locking down our opponent's first creature. If that's the only creature he has, then he doesn't get to do anything with it. I steal it every turn and hit him with it, but he doesn't get to do anything with it. If he has 2 creatures in play, then his first creature is locked down, and then we take turns hitting each other with his second. This seems really good, doesn't it? I was rereading it very carefully there just to see if it locked down two of your opponent's creatures, and it doesn't do that. But what it does do is pretty damn good. Feels like you're not going to have a lot of control with that, though. You know, for coalition events that you need to complete objectives with. Do you know what I mean? You might not want to use this if you're going to end up stealing Galters and hitting your opponent really, really hard with them. It might not give you a lot of time to complete your objectives. So maybe this isn't one for the coalition events, and so therefore maybe it's not a chase card. It's really good though. I like it. I like 3 suppression bonds. I would definitely play with 3 suppression. The problem with suppression bonds, I've always said, is there's only 1 of them, you know? I like 3 of them. 3 is a good number. At knife point. Come on, nobody's going to tell me that this isn't fucking AI artwork that they're using. Look at it, for God's sake. It really looks like AI artwork. And that guy looks like he's got like an official Monster hat. Yeah, it looks like he's been to the Monster Energy Drink Company and he's got an official Monster hat off them, doesn't it? That is the crime emblem, isn't it? Yeah, the little cowboy with the neckerchief. This is a crime card. This is our first crime card. I'm glad we've only got to A and we've got our first crime card. We want to see about 50 of these things. If there's going to be a lot of interplay and synergy with crime, we really want to see about 50 of these cards. I don't think we're going to get them. At the beginning of your turn, outlaw creatures get first strike until the beginning of your next turn. Right, rubbish. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you committed a crime, create a red mercenary. Anyone know what a red mercenary is? Anyone happen to know what one of those is? I mean, in the past, we've assumed these things are 1/1s, you know. We assumed it was a 1/1 on chalk outline, and it turned out to be a 2/2. That was a bit of a shock, wasn't it? I mean, a red mercenary might be as high as a, who knows, might be as high as a 3/3. 2/2. I see somebody saying in the chat. Yes, I can imagine it being a 2/2. So why would you care? I mean, so much worse than Thopter Spy Network. Do you know what I like creating tokens with at the moment? Is Judith. She's a pretty decent card, actually. Pretty decent card for when you actually want to create tokens for objectives. Judith is who I'm turning to at the moment. Very, very good. Not at knife point. We don't care about at knife point. We shall move on. Avon Interrupter. Now this is like a counterspelly type thing. Well, not even a counterspelly. In paper, like bounces the spell back to your hand or something like that. I don't know. It's definitely not going to do that here. It's because they don't know how to make counterspells. When this creature enters the battlefield, your opponent exiles the card with the greatest amount of mana that can be discarded from their hand. That presumably means the greatest amount of mana that's in that card. Okay. I'm not sure you really care about that. You can see the thought process, which is that you probably want to get rid of the card with the greatest amount of mana. You know? But you probably don't, because you almost certainly won't be getting rid of the first card in your opponent's hand, you know? Like if Atraxa has fetched like a really big, expensive support, Greg wasn't going to cast that anyway. So it doesn't really matter if you discard that card from their hand. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, whatever. Then create a copy of that card in their control. So you're draining the mana out of a single card. You're getting a 2/2. I mean, fuck off. Who cares? We do not care. Back in town, the boys are. Return all outlaw and mount cards from your graveyard to the battlefield under your control. We haven't seen one of these in a while, have we? Didn't we have one of these for like Rebels? My brain is telling me that many, many years ago, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, we had one of these for Rebels, just sprog 3 Rebels into play. We haven't really had one of these for ages. You'd think we would have had like a tribal, like zombie one or something like that. But my brain is blanking on whether we have or not. Then your opponent loses X life and you gain X life. X is the total power of creatures you control. I mean, I don't know. Clearly it depends on what outlaws and mounts are like. Wouldn't it be nice if this was good? Wouldn't it be nice? Don't chase it. See if it turns up. But wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be fun if that ended up being like a really good... Wouldn't it be amazing if that was like a tier 1 standard card? I love that. That would be brilliant. Baron Bertram Greywater is a vampire noble. When your first creature token, okay, attacks each turn, he's not going to create any creature tokens until you've already got a creature token. You create one single creature token. When another creature you control dies, draw a card. Yeah, it's rubbish, isn't it? Rubbish! Beast Bond Outcaster. This has got plot. Plot 4. That's quite cheap. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. So wait, does it not have any plot effect on it? What did the last plot card say? Sorry about this. What did the last plot card say? Yeah, if this card has the plotted emblem, do a thing. This just does nothing. Am I seeing this right? So you can either play this card. Oh, I see. Right. So you can either play this card for 9, and it does all of the things it does, or you can play it next turn for 4. Who cares? They haven't scaled it up, have they? You can see the numbers here mattering in a game of paper magic. But for a 3/3 creature, it's a meaningless choice. Do you want to have no effect on the game now, or no effect on the game for a little less mana later on? Meaningless. Your first creature gets +8/+8 and fights target opposing creature. I mean, that's quite a powerful removal spell. Obviously, I hate dealing damage to things. I'd rather just kill things. But if you're gonna deal damage to something, that's quite a lot of damage to deal, isn't it? +8/+8 and fights target opposing creature. You can probably kill a Gaia's Revenge with that. Might not be able to kill a Galta with that, but yeah, as bad removal spells go, it is uncommon, so obviously has to be shit. So that's high shit tier. Yeah, definitely a high shit tier card. We'll call it that much. I don't mind with an effect like that gives a +8/+8. You know, that's probably going to be relevant in a fox punching event. I'm going to get into calling it fox punching. When the people master cards in Fateful Showdown, they call it fox punching, I believe. So a spell, mostly only creatures are relevant, but a spell that gives something +8/+8 when you're mastering cards, relevant. So yeah, fuck it, high shit tier. Black Snag Buzzard. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you exile a card this turn, this creature gets +2/+2. Right, and it couldn't be a 4/3 for 12. Why exactly? Why couldn't it just be a 4/3 for 12? Blood Hustler. Oh, that's some nice artwork. Definitely, I like this. The cards are a bit big though. I mean, how big are those playing cards that she's playing with? Seriously, I like that artwork. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you committed a crime, this is a crime card. This creature gets +1/+1. So this is what we're expecting out of crime, yeah? This is the type of card. This is part of the crime pool, yeah? There's going to be X cards with crime. And in order to power up one of the powerful ones, you're going to have to play with another one of the powerful ones. This one clearly might as well not exist. Yeah? Surely even Webcore can see that. There's no reason for this card giving it crime. Nobody's excited to build with it. Go away. Zombie Mercenary. Here's a 4/3 for 12. Isn't that too big? We can't give it numbers like that. Can we have to make it a 1/2? Activate 3 black. This creature gets +1/+1. Then you may destroy the last creature you control if you do create a gold token. Let me think. Do I want the last creature I control or a gold token? I think I want the last creature I control. Thanks very much. Bonnie Powell Clear Cutter appears to have a blue cow. That is a blue cow, isn't it? It's not just my screen or my eyesight going. This is a 6/5 with reach for 13 mana, which doesn't seem big enough to me. I think, by the way, I've been mastering Titan of Industry, and Titan of Industry sometimes gets shield tokens. I think they should be giving shield tokens out liberally to creatures with defensive ability, because defenders are crap, aren't they? The only way to make a defender not crap is to make it so enormously huge that it's basically broken, you know? But that's one way to stop defenders from being huge and stop them dying, is give them some shield counters. Why not? Give them 2 or 3 shield counters, yeah? It means they don't deal too much damage, but it does mean they prevent a lot of damage and they stay in play and they do a lot of blocking like they're supposed to. Do that thing. Webcore, that's my thing that I think that you should do. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a bow token. Does anyone know what the hell a bow token is? When a creature you control attacks, draw a card, then convert 2 gems to blue or green. Right, we don't really like it, do we? You know? We're drawing cards but not putting mana in them. Haven't we seen already some cards at around this cost that draw cards and put mana into them? Yeah? You're not even, when this thing dies, and it will, it's got Defender. Yeah, the token that you leave behind isn't going to be drawing cards. And then to cap it all off, you're doing the conversion thing at the wrong point in the turn, aren't you? You're doing it at the end of the turn after you made the swap. So all in all, a really bad pack. I mean, maybe Bow's really interesting, but I think it's going to be a 4/4. That's my theory. Boombox. It's a box that goes boom. Of course it is. At the beginning of your turn, your first creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Now this is fascinating. Activate 2, destroy a random opposing card. So we'll start with the start. Firstly, this should be an equipment. Clearly, this should be equipment. Yeah, and secondly, stop doing this thing where equipments trigger. Yeah, go and have a look at all the equipments that were in Origins. They're all continuous effects. Stop having them trigger at the start of the turn. It's rubbish. A little bit of bookkeeping there. Obviously, we don't give a flying shit about the first creature gaining +2/+0. Activate 2 is a tiny number. There's so many things about this card are bad, and yet destroy a random opposing card. This effect can affect Vanguard supports. Now, we've all seen the spoilers. If you haven't, there's a card coming up that's got Activate 10 that destroys supports. But this thing's going to destroy creatures as well. I can't imagine myself putting this into a standard deck. But it is interesting, isn't it? You know? That is a very, very powerful effect to put on 2 gems. I do play with a card that's got Activate 2, and it's Golos. I play with Golos sometimes in Training Grounds in my Koth deck, because he has Activate 2, and it's a very powerful Activate 2 effect. It's go and fetch 2 cards from your 2 creatures or supports from your graveyard and put them into play. That is a more powerful effect than this one. Maybe I don't mind this existing. I mean, it's unreliable. It's going to be unreliable, isn't it? With the Activate 2, it's going to be too hard to hit those gems. And if you're using a lot of gem conversion in order to hit those 2 gems, well then you've probably got that deck, haven't you, that can just cast all of its spells all the time and not care. So you probably don't need to be playing with this. But I don't think I mind this. It's interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting card. Bounding Felidor. This is a mount. It's a 4/7 for 10 mana. That's a bit large, isn't it? A bit large for an uncommon. When this card becomes saddled, your creatures get +1/+1 permanently. Then you gain X life. X is a number of mount creatures you control. Right. So larger than average. Mid-shit tier. Larger than average. High high to mid shit tier. We can't really call this high shit tier. This probably is high shit tier, isn't it? It is probably going to be the best card that you're mastering. It just doesn't seem good enough to be high shit tier. High to mid shit tier. What can we call that? Somebody think of a name. We've sprogged. Shit tier has sprogged another tier. Another sub tier, everybody. Scramble. We need a new name. We need a new name which makes it immediately obvious what type it is. Anyway, whatever it is, this card is it. But it is definitely in shit tier. Bovine Intervention. I love it. Isn't that name brilliant? I first heard that joke in the Tick comic myself, and I've always enjoyed it as a joke. Destroy all the creatures and all the gems. I love the way it says that. I don't even mind the way it says it. It's written like a meme, isn't it? Destroy all the creatures and all the gems. That's not how Magic cards are written. I don't really care. I just like the way it's written like that. Then create X White Ox tokens. Oh, this was, yes, I remember. This was one of Goz's spoiler cards, I believe. Create X White Ox tokens, which you think are probably 1/1s. X is the number of cards destroyed this way, including their reinforcements. Y is the number of Ox creatures you control. Oh, gain Y life, yeah. Y is the number of Ox creatures you control, including their reinforcements. So you're blowing up things. The number of cards destroyed, you get a bunch of things. Right, so you're not necessarily blowing up supports, but you are hitting all of the gems, which will certainly blow up like simple tokens. Simple token. So you're probably not getting a lot of Oxes. You're probably getting about as many Oxes as you get Phyrexians from the phasing of Zalfir. I'm a huge fan of the phasing of Zalfir. Thanks once again for Zibfer for putting me onto that. I'd seen that card again in the past, but for some reason wasn't playing it. And Zibber's like, you want to get on that? And I did, and it's great. So that, it seems to me you're probably going to be getting, you know, low amounts of power from that. You might get, you know, 4 4s and 6 6s from the Oxes. In total, I mean. I doubt they're going to be 4 4s and 6 6s themselves. So they're not going to be highly relevant, those creatures, for attacking with, but they might be relevant for, say, sacking to a cut your losses. And you're gaining Y life. All players lose the crime emblem. I mean, this is bad, isn't it? We've had 2 crime cards so far. They've both been shit. And the powerful card is the one that makes everyone lose the crime emblem. This does not bode well for the crime mechanic. Again, 20 mana seems a bit expensive to me. I think I'd rather pay 10 mana for a No Witnesses. I don't even remember what the rest of No Witnesses does. I just remember it does a Wrath of God. But I'd rather play like a push-pull for 12 mana and kill everything and just not have the creatures, the extra Oxes and the tiny bit of life. Yeah? So for me, that's what the problem is. Maybe in practice, maybe destroying all the gems will produce a decent-sized cascade. But even if it does, I feel like I want to be playing with a cheaper Wrath effect. Phasing as Alpha is 16, push-pull is 12, No Witnesses is 10. So that is what I think of this board sweep. Britches, the Blast Maker, is a 3/3. When you cast your second card each turn, roll a d20. A d20? What is this? Where are we? Are we back in the Forgotten Realms? Cast your second card each turn. That's not good, is it? It's not easy to cast your second card each turn. Unless you're going crazy combo. But then if you are, why do you only want it to trigger once? So I don't like, me the Spike, I don't like it, and the Johnnies don't like it either. 1 to 10, you may create a copy of that card in your hand. If you do, that copy gains full mana. Right, so I play my second card in a turn. It copies that card and it gains full mana. That sounds great, doesn't it? But that is only 50% likely to happen. The other 50% to happen is deal X damage to a random opposing creature. Is that what you want to do? So if you play this and you play a card and then you play a deploy, are you really equally happy? You know, on the one hand, you might get a free deploy the Gatewatch, and on the other hand, you might deal a bit of damage to one of your opponent's cards. 20 damage, okay, but you want the deploy, don't you? Don't like it. Nobody else does either. Terrible artwork. Bridled Bighorn. When it becomes saddled, create a sheep token. So there's this underwhelming creature. Then you need a second creature in order for this to make a third creature, just to make sure your creature slots are all filled up with absolute garbage. Thanks very much. Brimstone Roundup. This has plot 8. When you cast a spell card, if that card has the plotted emblem, create a red mercenary token. Now, what's going on here? Because I understand, I got my head around the last one. It was pointless on the last one, but you can either play it now for 9 mana or next turn for 4 mana, the last one. This one, you can either play it now for 8 mana or next turn for 8 mana. Yeah? And it does the same thing. So what's going on? I don't get it. Like, you exile the card and it comes back. It comes back and sits in your hand. Now, if I want to play a card next turn instead of this turn and have it doing the same thing, I can just turn that off. I could do that with literally any card in the game. What's going on with this? If that card, does it mean if this card has the plotted emblem? That must be what it is, right? Okay, surely that's what it is, yeah? You have to plot it, but that would mean it does absolutely nothing if you cast it now. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's a shit card. However it works, however it's supposed to work, I don't care. It's a shit card. We move on. Bristlepack Sentry. This is a 6 mana 3/3. That's very big. Very big for a 6 mana common, isn't it? And it has Defender, just to make sure it's as bad as possible. Beginning of your turn. Well, good luck lasting until the beginning of your turn as a 3/3 Defender. If you control another creature with power 4 or less, this creature gains Vigilance. Oh dear. Now, Vigilance does, in fact, stack with Defender in such a way that it will stop this thing from blocking. Yeah? So if you can stop this creature being attacked and dying by having another creature in play. Is that good design? I'm not convinced that that's good design. Bristling Backwards. Same again, innit? When it comes into play, deal 1 damage to your opponent's planeswalker and each creature they control. I mean, I was kind of hoping that maybe each of the lands would have a tiny little different effect. That would be nice. That would be a bit of design, wouldn't it? Presumably they're copying design from paper. So, obviously we like it. Obviously it's better than lands than we've had for ages. We shall move on. Bristly Bill is a plant druid. When this creature enters the battlefield or is reinforced, creatures you control get +2/+2. So it's a 4/4. Land 4, reinforce each creature you control 1 time. It's a bit small at 2/2, isn't it? How big would this be for the Johnnies out there to get excited about it? 6/6? 8/8. I think if it was 8/8, they'd definitely start getting excited. 6/6? They'd probably start getting excited at 6/6. 4/4? 4/4 maybe not. Too small. Bruce Tarl, roving rancher. He appears to be riding an ox. Oh, and in fact, he's going to give your ox creatures double strike. Right. I'm not sure that's particularly interesting. Maybe it is. Maybe there's going to be a lot of... We've seen Bovine Intervention create oxes. I'm not sure we've seen a lot of ox creatures. Let's just look through... that was a plant wolf. That was a sheep mount. That was a goblin pirate. That was a cat beastman. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Oxes. He is going to create Oxes himself, though, so he's giving them double strike. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, exit the top card of your library. If it's a land card, create an Ox token. Otherwise, fetch it. It gains half its mana rounded down. You see, this is going to be the theme of the set, yeah? You're going to be attacking with creatures that cost more than 10 mana. They're going to be getting a card. They're going to be filling it full of half its mana. And this one clearly is not one of the better ones. Maybe there'll be an Ox somewhere that you can give it double strike. That'll be great. This is, hang on. Let me take a deep breath. This is a Cactarantula. A Cactarantula, not a Caractarantula. Okay, this is a Cactarantula. I guess, yeah, I like the design. It's a nice card. I'm sure I wouldn't like the actual mechanical card. 13 mana, 6/5 reach. We've seen one of those today and it was bad. When it becomes the target of a spell, draw a card. Oh, look what they've done! That's committing a crime, isn't it? In paper, that's committing a crime. They're printing cards that have synergy with a mechanic they haven't even made. Cactus Folk Sure Shot. I'm not sure how I feel about these cacti. They look silly. They look silly in this picture anyway. Did the last one look... I mean, obviously the Cactarantula looked awesome. I mean, yeah, this is the problem with the Cactarantula, is that it just sounds like you're saying Cactarantula, doesn't it? What's that? Oh, it's a Cactarantula. It's not that bad. No, I'm afraid it is a Cactarantula. What did this guy... Yeah, it's not the artist. I just don't like the way these cactus people look. Sorry. Reach. Bloody hell, reach again. They're into reach, aren't they? Ward drains 6 mana from your hand. Well, it doesn't matter if it's got reach. It's going to die. When a creature with base power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gains trample or haste. No. Obviously not. There are better ways to give things haste for 8 mana. Oh, Tyvar, doesn't that give things haste for 8 mana? Obviously not. An 8 mana 4/4 reach. What have we got here? When this card becomes saddled, reinforce your first creature 2 times until end of turn. Well, it's only until end of turn, isn't it? You know, I mean, you might be able to hit somebody a little bit with that, but it's only until end of turn. Nobody's getting excited by that. Not when they could be drawing cards and getting full mana in them. And that's what we're comparing, isn't it? Because this has to be saddled to reinforce. The the flying newt thing, the salamander, that had to be saddled, but when it was getting full mana. So we're not comparing this to half mana, we're comparing this to full mana, and it's not good when we do that. Activate 2. This creature gets +4/-1, then draw a card. Obviously worthless. Caught in the Crossfire. Again, this was a spoilered card. Outlaw creature, spree 1. So what's happening with spree? Let's just remind ourselves. When I say ourselves, I mean me. When you make a match, your spree count goes up, and it doesn't have to be by swap. So, outlaw creatures you control get +X/0. Hard to say, isn't it? Hard to say just how good the outlaw creature... I suppose we should be looking out for, you know, good offensive outlaw creatures. Given that we've got this, that, you know, might be part of a deck that attacks with outlaws. And we've got the what was it? High Noon or whatever it was? Back in Town, that's what it was called. That Sprog's Outlaws into play. I suppose we should be looking out for a really powerful outlaw creature that might even become the centerpiece of a deck. I mean, it seems unlikely. Even as I say it aloud, I realise how unlikely it seems. But you never know. Outlaw creatures get +X/0. Spree 2, deal X damage to each creature without the outlaw subtype. Okay. Spree 3, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker and destroy X non-red gems. X is the number of red gems you matched this turn. See, what I don't like about this is it's just full Johnny, you know? It may as well say on it, yeah, if you've got a broken deck that does really broken things, then do some more broken things, yeah? It's really eggs in one basket, this, isn't it? So maybe the Johnnies will like it precisely because it is eggs in one basket, you know? But if you haven't, then, I mean, like I say, it's not, I'm making it sound like you can't do Spree without playing a bloody loopy, cut your losses wizard class deck. You can just play with some lands, and you can just match and get some cascades on the board, but that's not what people are going to be building for, is it? People are going to be going, yeah, I'm going to throw in, I'm a clever deck builder, I'm going to throw Galter into this deck. What a clever deck builder I am, you know? And I'm going to get loads of matches, and then everything's going to go, and it's going to be great. So I don't like the design. But, you know, people might like the card. Who knows? Caustic Bronco, double striking 2/2. Okay, bit small. But we're already in the realms of high shit tier as a double striking 2/2, to be perfectly honest. Saddle 4, when it attacks, if this creature is saddled, you draw a card and your opponent's planeswalker loses X life. Otherwise, you draw a card and lose X life. X is that card's base mana cost. Well, you really can't afford to do that, can you? You can't afford to draw a card and lose that life. So, do you know what? I'm bumping this down from high shit tier. You know, I don't mind having a double striker when I'm fox punching. But the one thing I do not want it to do is deal me a fuck ton of damage. So I need to, you know, so I run out of potions when I'm mastering. That is not something I want to do. Sorry. No. Mid-shit tier at best. In fact, maybe just shit. Maybe this is just a shit card. Claim Jumper. I'm not quite sure what that means, but okay. At the beginning of your turn, convert X gems to white. X is the number of outlaw creatures you control, including their reinforcements. This is an outlaw creature. It costs 14 mana. It's a 3/3. I mean, it's shit, isn't it? Isn't it shit? Anyone excited to play with this card? Pajamas playing with Serra's Sanctum. You know, he's got Mana Vault to play with. I know, okay, those are masterpieces, but we can get those cards quite easily. You can go for these cards in elite packs. There are lands. Isn't Leyline a rare card? There are lands that are so much better than this right now. That's awful. At the beginning of your turn, this creature gets +X/+X. X is the amount of desert cards you control, +2. Now, the lands we've seen so far, the decent common lands, they are deserts. We know, I'm pretty sure we think Demolishing Field, when it turns up, will be a desert. I don't think we're going to see a lot more deserts than that. I mean, I really don't know. You've got to assume that in paper, you know, that deserts are going to be lands, but most lands are going to be basic lands, aren't they? So maybe there are dual lands in paper. Oh, well, maybe that's the whole point of the common lands that we've got here, is that in paper they are dual lands and they're deserts. Anyway, my point is I can't imagine we're going to be seeing a lot of deserts, really. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, destroy 10 random gems. I mean, okay. It's all right, isn't it? I've not minded playing. In the past, I've played with Sword of the Animist, and I thought it was quite good. Like, those days have long gone. It used to have 3 shields too, but even so, you know, it's been a very, very long time since I put Sword of the Animist in my Nissa 1 deck and thought, yeah, I don't mind that card. Very long time. So Yes, destroy 10 random gems. Yeah, no. I mean, I guess it's okay as design, as far as design goes, but I'm definitely not playing it as a card. Look, somebody's given it. Look down the bottom of the screen. Somebody's given it a little shocked icon. Somebody's really excited by this card. Go and look at Rakdos, mate. Pylons. What have I got? Ooh, Surveil. Look at this. This is land. When this support enters the board, Surveil 1. At the beginning of your turn, convert 2 gems to the most present colour on the board. Now, 2 gems we don't like. 2 gems is generally not enough to make the cut. Surveil 1 isn't exciting enough to make the cut. I mean, this is inferior in all ways, is it not, to the Clue lands from MKM, which, yes, were rare, but again, it's not hard to craft them. Go craft those. They're really good, those Clue lands. I'm really into them. Yeah, we're converting 4 gems to 2 colours with the other lands, and just 2 gems to a single colour with this one. I don't think the 2 gems is enough. I'm sorry. However, it is always nice to see some lands that you can put into your decks when you're mastering. Bad lands are okay to put into your decks when you're mastering cards and make your mastering go a little bit faster. So, okay. Congregation Griff. We've seen a lot of mounts, haven't we? It feels like we've seen loads of mounts and hardly any crime cards. That's the way my brain's working. Oh, quick break for monster there. Saddle 3. This is a 1/4. It's got lifelink. If this creature is saddled, this creature has +X. X is the number of mounts. It's a weird mechanic, isn't it? They've done this before. So the number of mounts that you've got in play, you've only got 3 creature slots. You shouldn't assume that someone's going to have hundreds of mounts in play. You should generally assume somebody's going to have 1 mount in play. This is a bad card. Consuming Ashes. Exile the first opposing creature. 12 mana. Well, it's too expensive, isn't it? But bad removal is still removal. You can put it in your mastery decks. I have been mastering cards in events like Revolving Planeswalk and Following the Clues. Events like that. I've been playing Ob Nixilis, and I've just been playing a bunch of unmastered lands and a bunch of unmastered control cards. And I've been doing okay, and I've been winning games against Lily V. I've been winning some games against Galta, although not all of them, because Greg's such a bad player. Because Ob Nixilis is ultimate is good, so I'm kind of into these. I don't mind these bad control cards, but they are chaff. They are for mastering. They're not for playing the game of Magic Puzzle Quest. Destroy the last creature you control, then draw 2 cards. Those cards gain 2 mana. Well, that's awful. Creosote Heath is another one of those lands. Yes, it is. Cunning Coyote. Oh, we know the Roadrunner's coming up, don't we? So here's the Coyote as well. Fair enough. This is a 14 mana with plot 8. If this card hasn't the plotted emblem, right, your creatures get +2/+2 and haste. All your creatures get +2/+2 and haste. What? Ah, right. I see. It's because it costs 14 without the plot. So you're spending 14 mana, then it pumps your creatures up a minuscule amount. But if you want to plot it for 8 mana and spend it next turn, it doesn't pump your creatures up, and it does not. That first clause doesn't do anything. All very underwhelming. This is a rare. You know, these plot effects should start getting relevant at rare, shouldn't they? Let's see. Trap 8. Deal X damage to the first opposing creature. X is the number of red gems on the board. Then your creatures get +4/+4 until the beginning of your next turn. Okay. So trap 8 is quite a lot. Greg has to match one of these traps. It's going to do his creature a bunch of damage. It's going to pump up your creatures. You are going to be able to attack with your creatures that are pumped up. I mean, it's just unreliable, isn't it? There's quite a lot of power here. It's just unreliable, isn't it? This is high shit tier, no mistake. You're always going to play with a reliable card over an unreliable card, and this is an unreliable card. Dance of the Tumbleweeds. Oh, here's some more Spree. 17 mana. You see, they know, don't they? They know. They know that Spree is just for Johnnies. They wouldn't have made this card 17. I haven't even read it. And I know already they wouldn't have even made this card 17 mana if there were any pretense that this was for normal people who were going to get Spree by matching. No, this is for Galta players. And I feel like Galta players don't care because they've got Galta and they've got Tortoise and they've got Attractor. And they're just going to hit you. Anyway, fetch the first land or desert card from your library. Well, that's always going to happen. Spree 1 always happens, doesn't it? Fetch the first land or desert from your library. It gains half its mana. For 17 mana, that's not very exciting, is it? Spree 3, so we've jumped up from Spree 2. Create X green elemental tokens. X is the number of land cards you control, including their reinforcements. You've only got 3 slots. Galta goes in one, Tortoise goes in another, Attractor goes in another. There's no slots left for the green elemental tokens. Sorry. Daring Thunder Thief is a flash defender. I mean, okay, give us a flash defender. Maybe make it better than a 10 mana 4/4. Deadeye Duelist. How about, if you're going to make a 10 mana 4/4, how about a flash Harbinger of the Tides? I'd play with that bad boy. Not a defender. Deadeye Duelist. This is a 1/3. Wow, they've really gone out of their way to make this bad, haven't they? A 1/3 with reach, activate 1, deal 2 damage. I mean, it's so weird, isn't it? The fact that they've made the lands good at common because they want everyone to cast their spells. And you'd think, oh, have you finally recognised now that maybe making a bunch of common cards that are utterly worthless is a big waste of your time? Have you realised that now, Webcore? No, we haven't. Here you go. We spent time making this card, putting this card in the game. Nobody's ever going to play with it. You're going to find it hard to master this thing. It's going to be difficult to master this card. Too many cards like this, and it becomes difficult to master cards. You know? Does anyone else have this problem? You're mastering cards. You try and put like 1 or 2 really good creatures in, yeah? And then you pretend to yourself that like 8 mana 4/4s are like middling creatures, but they're not. They're actually, you know, well above average when it comes to mastering card. And you have to put in some creatures with 1 power in your deck when you're mastering. Because if you master too many good cards, there's too many. I suppose I'm probably mastering. My problem is I'm mastering too many commons and uncommons in one go. You know, I have mastered an awful lot of commons and an awful lot of uncommons. I do have a lot of rares left and a lot of mythics and masterpieces left. So I'm probably mastering too many commons and uncommons in one go just to get them out of the way. So it is probably my fault. Shit card. Deep Muck Desperado. This is a Homerid. Anyone remember Homerids from Fallen Empires? That was a long time ago. Fallen Empires, famously one of the most unsuccessful cards sets, in Paper Magic. They overprinted on it, and you could probably still pick up boxes of Fallen Empires quite cheap because they printed so many of them. Why is there a hominid in the desert? Is he underwater? I can't even tell if he's underwater. Is that a line of bubbles next to him? He doesn't look like he's underwater. Why would a hominid be in the desert? So many questions. I don't know. Anyway, this is a crime card. Again, 8 mana 2/4 crime card. At the end of your turn, if you committed a crime, destroy the top 3 cards of each player's library. Is that it? Is that the killer app? We're at D. We still haven't seen anything worth playing in crime. Maybe you should have made crime a broader mechanic that has synergy with other cards other than crime. Webcore, maybe you should learn from this experience. I want you to sit, oh God, I want you to sit in the corner and think about what you've done. This one has me really spooked. I'll be honest. This one has me really spooked. I mean, it's too good. Clearly it's too good. Activate 10. Yeah? That's going to happen. You don't even need to convert gems to do that. Destroy a random opposing support. This effect can affect vanguards. Oh, and gain 4 mana as well. Let's not forget that. I mean, this is stupid powerful. You know, we've wanted cards. Demolish is, you know, looking a little bit green around. I still play with Demolish in standard events all the time, but it's looking a bit green around the gills. One of the reasons that Demolish is looking a bit ropey these days is because Planeswalkers like Pajami just lop supports into play all over the place. So we have been wanting cards that blow up more than one support. We have been wanting that. This is a big step up from that in power, though. This is. But the thing that makes me worried is that this land, oh yes, it's a land. This is the type of card that, you know, your Galter can do a big turn with. Yeah? So I want you to imagine this. A big Galter turn, and it ends with a Galter in play, and it ends with a Tortoise in play, and it ends with a Demolition Field in play. Maybe some more, but that's perfectly reasonable that it could end with those things. You know, now in the past, I've always been okay thinking, all right, you know, Galter happens. I'm going to do a Wrath of God, and I can probably recover from that. But if they're going to start printing lands, no less, lands that tortoises can sprog into play, that are this powerful, then that's a bit scary. It's a good card. I would say go after it, definitely. But it's got me spooked, definitely. It's going to make supports, it's going to make anyone's mana generation on the board really unstable. This is a major problem I have with this card, yeah, is that anyone building for standard these days are going to look at this card and think, well, like, how am I going to cast my spells? You know, my supports are unstable now. Yeah, I'm going to play with Galter. You know, they're going to look at this. What's that other one that deals damage to all your opponent's creatures? I forget what it is. There's another land that does that as well. You know, so you think if you were thinking, oh well, maybe I'll get my mana, maybe I'll cast my cards with a Ziatra's Envoy, you know, or an Inti or something like that. I won't rely on supports. I'll rely on creatures. You know, nah, they're going to get shot by that other thing that's also a land, you know. It leads you thinking about how you're going to play around this card. Should it get played against you, is inexorably going to lead you to think, fuck me, why don't I just play with Galter? It's the best card in standard, you know. And this card, you know, does play pretty well with Galter, you know. It's got me spooked anyway. This is the type of thing they might sell for $80. Maybe we won't see it in open play for a while. But I find it difficult to get excited about this card, because I think it means bad things for the format. But by all means, go after it. It's super powerful. Demonic Ruckus. I think I hate plot. Having seen some plot cards, I think I really hate it. Your first creature gets +4/+4 against Berserker and Trample till the beginning of your next turn. If this card has the plotted emblem, first creature gets +7/+7 instead. I mean, it just... so much effort when you can just kill something. All you want to do is with this card is kill something. You just play a card that just goes destroy target creature, boom, for much less mana. We've got to see something different with plot. And I'm afraid, I'm really worried the only thing that we're going to see that's exciting with plot is, you know, something silly like a Deploy the Gatewatch. They probably would. Knowing Webcore, they probably would print a Deploy the Gatewatch and give it plot and make it cost like 10 mana or something. I think that anything else that's going to be... unless it's going to, you know, give you a lot of cards and make them free, yeah? Unless it's that effect, any other effect with plot, I think is going to be shit, isn't it? That's certainly what it's starting to look like to me. Oh, yeah, this is it. It's the desert. This is the thing that's dealing damage to all your opponent's creatures. When a gem is converted to a colour, decrease all coloured mana bonuses of that player's Planeswalker by 1 until the beginning of your next turn. When the first opposing creature attacks, deal X damage to each opposing creature. X is equal to your loyalty. Then destroy an opposing support card at random. Does this stop Galter? No. I mean, yeah, you know, bully for you. Hooray, well done. Yeah, you've played this first. You know, I've played my Galter. I haven't got any mana from my Galter. Well done. I do still have a 15/15 and I've gained a bunch of loyalty. Have you done that? You haven't done that, have you? And do you know what? What if I play my Galter first? Then you're fucked, aren't you? Then you've done nothing. This is not a good answer to Galter, in my opinion. But it is dangerous. This is a dangerous enough card to stop you wanting to play with small mana gaining creatures. This is a dangerous enough card to make me think, oh, maybe I won't play with Inti. Maybe Inti is just too vulnerable to a card like this. Maybe I won't play with Zarata as Envoy. Yeah? So let me think. How am I going to play my cards? If I'm not going to play with small creatures and I'm not going to play with supports, how am I going to play my cards? And the only answer is Galter. And that worries me. I don't like what these things represent. They think they've answered Galter here. That's the thing. They've printed this card. They think they've answered Galter, and I'm not sure that they have. And it's like, sorry, we're not moving on yet. It's like, this isn't even, you know, stopping. There are plenty of effects in the game that are completely broken, that put full mana into people's hands. Yeah, we've seen tons of them already in this set. Most of them giving half mana. I admit that, you know, but plenty of effects out there at the moment that put full mana into people's hands. This has no effect on that. This is kind of a sideboard card that isn't going to work against a load of different things. If you go into a standard event with this, that first effect isn't going to work on a bunch of things. So you do still have this damage dealing effect. Okay, and maybe that means quite a lot. I mean, you're not going to be generating a lot of loyalty, are you? Because you're not going to be using gem conversion, are you? Because you'd be fucking up your own gem conversion. So you're going to be generating loyalty fairly slowly. You're going to kill small things. You're going to kill inties, yeah? You're going to kill, you know, most creatures. But you're not going to kill Galters very quickly. Especially not, you know, stacks of them. You're certainly not going to be killing tainted adversaries and bloodthirsty adversaries with that kind of damage. So this is a really powerful answer card that might just not answer what your opponent is playing, which is going to be very dangerous for you if it doesn't do that. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's good. Get it. Play with it. Knock yourselves out. Desert Stew. Let's finally move on. The first opposing creature gets -4, -4 until end of turn. Or you could just kill it. Couldn't you? That would be fine. Just killing it would be fine. I hear black cards do that. This is a land. I've not seen this one before. Activate 4 white. You gain 6 mana and 3 loyalty. Okay. Activate 4 black. Creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink until the beginning of your next turn. So Death Touch is irrelevant. Lifelink is, you know, nice, but are you going to be getting it anyway with it on that Activate 4 black? I don't think we like it. I think Activate 4 seems too small, doesn't it? Activate 4 seems like it's probably going to be worse than even Mana Field, to be perfectly honest. Yeah? And again, if you're using gem conversion to pop these gems, then that's what's giving you mana and loyalty. I can't see this being good. I can't see it being good. High shit tier? I don't even know. I don't even know whether I'd call that high shit tier or not. Who even knows? Maybe. Don't like it. Desperate Bloodseeker. This is a 2/2 lifelinker. Destroy the top 3 cards of each player's library. I mean, whatever. It's alright when you're mastering it, isn't it? Whatever. Discerning Peddler. When this creature enters the battlefield, discard a card and draw a card. It costs 3? Okay. Costs 3. Maybe. I don't know. Johnny's got any use for a creature that costs 3 these days? They have in the past, haven't they? Been able to find things that reduce the cost of creatures. I think it's been a long time since we've had something like that. Something that's reduced the cost of creatures down to 0 and let you do free things with them. I mean, this is cheaper than most red effects that just do this, aren't there? There are red cards that let you, draw cards and discard cards. This is cheaper than that. Is it good enough? Almost certainly not. Almost certainly not. Make it cost 1. Make it a 4/4. Still not good enough, even with those stats. Djinn of Fool's Fall. At the beginning of your turn, if this card hasn't the plotted emblem, so if you paid 13 mana, the first opposing creature gains stun counter 1. I mean, I kind of hate stun counter. Having played with Tangle Wire now, the problem with stun counter is it doesn't disable things, yeah? So if you play a creature and I play a Tangle Wire, then you hit me with the creature. And then I give it stun counter. And then you hit me with the creature again. And then next turn it finally stops being a creature, you know? Stun counter's a bit too slow in that effect. I'm sure in paper when a creature has a stun counter on it, it's immediately disabled. But that's not how it works in Puzzle Quest, is it? I think that's how Webcore thinks it works, but that's not how it works. When something has stun counter, it doesn't become stunned until the next turn. So this is rubbish. Doc Orlock, Grizzled Genius. At the beginning of your turn, the first card with plot in your hand gains 6 mana. Well, the things we've seen with plot are rubbish. 12 mana 2/3 is too small. Cannot get excited about that. When an outlaw creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a copy of that card in your hand. Let's just assume. Let's just assume everything we've ever seen that isn't a mount is probably an outlaw. Yeah? So what's the best offensive creature we've seen so far? There hasn't been one, has there? That 18 mana 4/5 was probably an outlaw. Let's go back. Look away now if you're affected by flashing lights. Where was it? That was probably an outlaw. Annie, what's her name? Yeah, you see, Rogue, that's an outlaw. Bit expensive. There was a 13 mana one coming up fairly soon. Was there a 13 mana? No, or was I just thinking of... No, there isn't a 13 mana. Yeah, back to where we were anyway. I think I was thinking of the Newt, that I'm pretty sure won't be an outlaw. So I'm not excited about reinforcing outlaws at the moment. Wave at me. If you see an outlaw and you think, you know, all these cards that pump up outlaws that we've seen, this is the type of card it would work on, Steve. Remember to point it out. But they're doing it the wrong way round, aren't they? I mean, maybe they're all at the other end of the set, but we've got all these cards that affect outlaws. I'm not seeing the outlaws I want to affect. And that's kind of key, isn't it? When an outlaw enters the battlefield, create a copy in your hand. Then your opponent loses the crime emblem. At the end of your turn, the first outlaw card in your hand gains full mana. I mean, I was expecting it to be on. I was surprised when it created the copy that it didn't immediately give it full mana. Once again, this is one of the more powerful crime-related effects that we've seen. One of the more powerful crime-related cards that we've seen. And it's stamping on the crime mechanic. It's not allowing you to play with the crime mechanic. It's stamping on it. So, hooray! I doubt just doubling up. I mean, wasn't there a virtue that like just doubled up every creature when you played it? Wasn't there? I suppose there wasn't. I suppose didn't it create like a 1/1 copy or a 0/1 copy of it or something? I don't know. Outlaw creature enters the battlefield. Right, so it's not saying non-token, right? Don't worry, I get there in the end. So you play an outlaw, it creates a copy, and then the end of the turn the outlaw gains full mana, and then next turn you're in exactly the same situation. So you're just playing outlaws, as many as you like, but you are only playing one a turn. You can't get round that because it's only pumping up, it's only putting mana into one single outlaw card, and it's only doing it once in a turn. So I doubt that's exciting enough for the Johnnies. They can do some pretty broken things. I doubt one outlaw a turn for free is enough. Drover Grizzly. Grover Drizzly. Yeah, I prefer Grover Drizzly. I think he should be Grover Drizzly. He seems to be half cactus. Are they trying to tell us that a bear fucked a cactus? Is that what they're trying to tell us? I think that is what they're trying to tell us. This is a 15 mana 4/2, which is obviously shite. Creatures get trampled. Jeez, that's bad, isn't it? 7 mana lands. With 7 mana lands we've had, converting 4 gems. And this is the type of commons we're still seeing. I don't think there's even anything in Origins that is this. I mean, there probably is. I'm probably just edited it out of my brain, but 15 mana 4/2. Wow. Duelist of the Mind. Now, if I know my rubbish MTGPQ art, and I do, this is probably MTG. This to me looks like somebody who's won a Pro Tour. They used to do this thing, didn't they? When people won Pro Tours, they gave them a card, you know, and Snapcaster Mage was one of those, and Rootwater Thief was one of those, and Declaration of Naught, I think, might have been one of those. This to me looks like a player in real life who won a Pro Tour, and they've given him his own card, which probably means it's really good in paper, because they try and make these cards playable. This is a 1/3 8 mana Vigilance, that's not very interesting. Crime, nothing interesting so far. When you draw a card, this creature gets +1/+1 permanently. Okay. Still not very exciting, and also very slow. I mean, for God's sake, I play with, what's it called? Walking Archive in Training Grounds sometime. I have this Koth deck. The only way I can stop Koth running out of gas is by playing with Walking Archive. And my God, are the animations slow on that thing. So I fear, you know, even if this card turned out to be great, the animations are probably going to be the thing that stops people playing with. I mean, people don't play with Tainted Adversary, do they? As much as you'd think, because of the goddamn animations. And that thing is enormous. When you commit a crime, discard your hand, then draw 5 cards. This effect can trigger 2 times a turn. I mean, I don't know. It just seems a bit small, doesn't it? You know, obviously bigger than a common, you know. You play this, you get a 1/3, you know, and it's easy enough to play effects that draw cards. I mean, you could just exile your whole hand with Jace the Perfected Mind. Is that what he's called? And draw 5 cards every turn. If you didn't want to, you know, hold any mana back, draw 5 cards every single turn. And I hear Time Reversal is quite a good card. Plenty of good cards for drawing. And yet, you know, Tainted Adversary, Bloodthirsty Adversary, Galter. You know, this just seems, for an enormous card, this seems like a very small, enormous card. A teeny tiny one. It's going to take you ages to kill somebody with this enormous card. I don't think I like it. If that's that is the best crime card we've seen so far. And I discard you, and I don't really like discarding my card and drawing 5 cards when I could be discarding my hand, drawing as many cards as I discarded, and then putting tons of mana into them with a time reversal. You know, not getting mana in the cards is a bit of a killer there. That's a bit of a bad card, isn't it? Dust Animus, plot 6. This creature gets +4/+4 and lifelink. I mean, okay, finally we're looking at something that's appreciably bigger if you plot. You know, a 6/7 lifelink for 6 mana is absolutely in the realms of high shit tier, you know? Worth waiting for if you're mastering cards. Worth playing in a standard event? No, not even close. High shit tier, absolutely. The very definition of a high shit tier card. It's always nice to have a bit of lifelink when you're mastering, because sometimes your cards are so bad you can take quite a bit of damage. Emergent Haunting. I like the artwork. That's what I can say here. There is a haunting aspect to the artwork. At the beginning of your turn, create a colourless spirit token. That's definitely a 1/1, isn't it? We've seen plenty of colourless spirits before. When a spirit creature you control deals combat damage, destroy the top 2 cards of your library. I'm not seeing anything exciting yet. Okay, here it is. Here's the exciting part. At the end of your turn, gain X mana. X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Now, here's what I think happened with this. This used to say the number of cards in your graveyard, and then they realised how broken Chalk Outline was, so they changed it to creature cards, and now it's not very good. Is it? I don't think this is very good. It's creating tokens very slowly. It's not creating tokens enough to be a threat. And it's gaining mana at a very slow rate. Those 2 cards you put into your library probably aren't going to be featuring a creature. That is a low power card, isn't it? I might even call that high shit tier, just because. The problem with calling this high shit tier is that, like, when you put cards in a mastery deck, you don't even read the supports and the spells, do you? I don't generally even read the supports and the spells. I look at the numbers on the power and toughness of the creatures when I'm mastering cards, and sometimes I get caught out because sometimes the card will say something like, when you play this card, you instantly lose the game. there are cards, the creatures that I'll put in because they look, you know, good for their cost and they turn out to blow up all my own stuff. But I look at the power and toughness of creatures compared to the cost, and then I just put some supports and spells in. And sometimes I'll guess what the spell does, given the artwork and its name. I think, oh, maybe that's a damage spell. That one looks a bit like a black removal spell. Maybe I won't put this in my mastery deck. Maybe I'll save that. Maybe I won't use that fox punching. I'll save that for following the clues. But so it's difficult to... My point is, it's difficult to call a card like this high shit tier because you're not even bothering to look what supports do when you're mastering cards. Ariette. Now, she was good last time, wasn't she? Didn't Ariette, like, lock down creatures permanently? She looked like she might be exciting. You had to play auras. And I think, in the end, I think it probably just wasn't worth playing her over some copies of Sleep with the Fishes, which is still a really amazing removal card. Anyway, this is a different one. She's a 12 mana 4/4 lifelink. We don't mind that. Well, at the end of your turn, if you control 2 or less creatures, gain control of target opposing creature until the beginning of your next turn. Okay. So this is creature number 1. So you cannot have any more creatures. You can only have this in play and nothing else. And if you do that, it will gain control of target opposing creature till the beginning of your turn. That happens at the end of your turn. So that means that during your opponent's turn, you have control of one of their creatures of your choice. So you're not going to get to attack with it, but they don't have it in play and they don't get to attack with it either. If you don't, fetch the first enchantment card from your library with mana value 10 or less. That card gets full mana. See, this seems tricky to me because those are two very different effects. It feels like the effects on this card are pulling in two different directions. Like, you're really going to put all your eggs in one basket or the other, don't you? You're either going to want to gain control of that creature, or you're going to be wanting to fetch that enchantment. It's not that easy, is it, to kill your own creature? I mean, I know cut your losses is a thing, but that's about it, really, isn't it? You don't really want to be using, effects, actual murder spells to kill your own creatures, just to chop yourself down to one creature so you can temporarily gain control of one of your opponent's creatures. And I know it does it every turn. But you don't get to attack with it yourself. You're taking it out of their hands, so it doesn't trigger at the start of their turn. So I feel like those two effects are just too disparate. You know? You're either going to play with enough creatures in your deck to make sure that you do get the second paragraph, or you're not, because you definitely want the first paragraph. And if you want the first paragraph, I feel like, wasn't that a 3 suppression bonds card? Wasn't that kind of a bit better than this? If all you want to do is control your opponent's creatures. I don't know. It's an intriguing card, isn't it? But it would be nice if the effects had a bit more compatibility with each other. They're two very nice effects. And it would be nice if you could play a card with two very nice effects, rather than always playing one or the other. Ariette's Lullaby. Destroy the first opposing creature, gain 6 life. Well, blimey. I mean, that's quite good, isn't it? White's really getting some really serious removal recently. White has not really had it to the degree it's getting it in the last couple of sets. I mean, black doesn't get removal this good a lot of the time. You know, the black removal we've seen in this set so far is like 12 mana, 10 mana, isn't it? You know, this is a solid piece of removal. and it's untargeted. Yeah. I mean, yes, okay. Void Rend is still a thing. This probably still isn't going to make the cut in a lot of decks, but it is good. Solid removal. Here is another one of those lands. A blue-red one this time. Eartha Joe, Frontier Mentor. When this creature enters a battlefield, create a red mercenary token. This is a crime card. If you committed a crime, create 3 red mercenary tokens. Do we care? No, we don't care for 14 mana. It's bad. We've got to E, so come on. Come on, guys. There's still plenty of time to turn crime around. I mean, it looks, at this point, it looks like crime is going to be another energized, doesn't it? It's all going to be shit, and then there's going to be like one really broken mythic at some point. If you don't have that, then screw you. You're never going to get to play with the mechanic. Explosive Derailment. Just a piece of shit. Come on, you know Webcore, you've made this mechanic for the Johnnies. Do you think the Johnnies care about dealing 4 damage to target creature and destroying an artifact support? No, they don't. What a piece of shit. It's what they've just converted those effects from paper, haven't they? Without any thought as to whether they fit with the mechanic. Failed Forwarding. Return target creature to your opponent controls to its owner's hand. 14 mana! Didn't we have a 7 mana flash blue bounce spell in the last set? I think we did. That's not worth 14 mana. Fibblethip! Hello, Fibblethip. Good to see you, mate. Ward drains 6 mana. At the end of your turn, a random card in your hand gains plot 7. So why would you want that to happen? It's not going to gain any plotted effect, so you would want that to happen so that you can play it cheaply. So you're putting this into play, and then you're giving your Galter or Golden Wish or whatever plot 7 so that you can exile it for 7 mana and then play it instead of the full 20 Blair mana. And you're getting that from a 14 mana 3/2 that just gets shot by Desert because your opponent has at least 2 loyalty and has decided to play with quite a limited, but effective in your case, sideboard card. Yeah, there's a game of rock, paper, scissors going on at the moment with mana production, and there's a card that beats rock and paper and scissors. Felix 5 Boots. This is a slime wearing a hat and boots and gloves and a bandolero. Is that called a bandolero? I think that's called a bandolero. I'm not sure. Bandana, that's something you wear on your head. I don't even know. I'm not even slightly cool. I wouldn't know. He's wearing stuff anyway. Has he eaten the cowboys who were wearing those things? That's what I'm interested in. Or did he get up in the morning and put those things on? Did he go to his slime wardrobe and put those clothes on? Or has he just eaten a bunch of cowboys? 5 mana, 5/5, 14 mana, Menace Ward. When a creature you control deals combat damage, to your opponent's planeswalker, create a copy of that card in your hand. That card gains 4 mana. That's quite good, isn't it? Isn't that quite good? Every single creature that hits your opponent, you get a new free copy of it, including himself, Felix 5 Boots, but also anything else. That's That's very powerful. You know what I was saying about we wanted to be looking out for outlaws that were like really good. This is a really good one. This is a really good outlaw. Yeah. The type of people who build around things will have fun building around this guy. I mean, he does need to stay alive. He's better than Godshit tier. I want to bump him down to Godshit tier, but he's better than that. But maybe he isn't, because I did put Aclazots in Godshit tier, didn't I? So the thing is, if I play this card, if me, Shteev, the Spike, if I play this card, I'm not particularly interested in going, oh, look at me, I'm gaining, I've got so much stuff in play and I'm gaining copies of everything, you know? I'm thinking about what's happening if the game isn't going quite so well. So firstly, he might get shot before he does anything. And secondly, maybe he only creates a copy of himself. And if he only creates a copy of himself, that's not very exciting, is it? You know? It's a 5/5 and I get another free 5/5. That's not at all exciting. So it's a bit win more, isn't it? You know, as you're copying your Galters and your Tortoises and your Tainted Adversaries and your, well, probably not even Tainted Adversary. Yeah, you probably don't even care about your adversaries. But, you know, things with come into play effects, of which there are many. I mean, this is definitely a powerful card. I'll probably have a lot of fun mastering that. Can't see it fitting into my standard deck. Doesn't seem like it fits into the Galter deck. Doesn't go with GTA, does it? Is it called Galter or Tortoise or Tractor? No, it's not called that. So I'm afraid there are only 3 slots. Sorry. Powerful though. Very good card. Ferocification. Yeah, like the name. That's good. Beginning of combat on your turn, your first creature gets +2/+1 and gains Defender and Menace. I mean, that's actually quite a powerful card when you think about it. That can kill all of your creatures, can't it? Because it gives one of your creatures Defender and then it dies. And then it doesn't stop there. It keeps killing all of your creatures. If you want all of your creatures to die, this is a very good way of doing it. Festering Gulch. This is black-green. Looks like we're getting deserts in all of the colour combinations then. It'll be 10 of these, presumably. Final Showdown. What time is it? Oh my word, I've been going for more than 2 hours. We want to think about winding down. Now, long-time listeners to the set reviews will know that I've had problems with biting my tongue in the past, and it's rearing its ugly head up again, and it shouldn't really be, should it? Just from talking for 2 hours. A lot of people talk for 2 hours. I'm probably going to have something done about that back tooth in my mouth. I used to have a tooth right at the back of my mouth, and that got taken out. And I think it's that. It's the fact that I've had the whole tooth. There were bits of it still there, and I had the whole tooth taken. This is fascinating, isn't it? This is all what you're here for, to hear about my mouth. Anyway, I'm going to keep going for a bit because I want to. So, Final Showdown. Spree 1. Disable each opposing creature until the end of your opponent's next turn. For 15. So that's your basic thing. You get a single match. You lock down your opponent's creatures for a turn. Clearly not worth paying for. But, you know, there's more. Spree 2. Your creatures get Prevent Damage and Lifelink. Again, that's not very exciting, is it? Yeah, Lifelink's okay. Prevent Damage is a bit meh, given that you've disabled your opponent's squad. And then Spree 3, destroy each opposing creature card. Okay, so this becomes a one-sided Wrath of God. Then increase the cost of the first 3 cards in your opponent's hand by 6. Oh, it's not enough for me. It's not enough. A one-sided Wrath of God. I mean, personally, I definitely just want a Wrath of God. I'm just going to play a Wrath of God over this, because getting the Spree 3, does make that effect a little bit unreliable. So I'm just going to play push-pull, thank you very much. And I know that push-pull, destroys all of my creatures, but guess what? The other side of it brings them all back out into play from the graveyard. So, I don't mind too much. Yeah. For a one-sided Wrath, I am not excited. I don't know if you all out there are excited by that, but I am not excited. Fleeting Reflection. Target creature gains hexproof and prevent damage until the beginning of your next turn. Reinforce that creature. That's not good enough, is it? Didn't we have something in the last set that permanently gave something hexproof? Am I going mad? What did Fae think? There was a card, wasn't there, that cost 5 mana that called Fae something, and it gave creature +2/+2 and flying. Didn't it give it hexproof permanently? Or am I going mad and it give it until end of turn? Anyway, this card doesn't do enough. At least they didn't give it flash, At least they didn't think to themselves, oh, this will protect the creature from an opposing spell. Forlorn Flats. This is the black-white land. Okay. Form a posse. When you make a match by swap, if it's in your hand, increase the card's level by 1. X red mercenary tokens. X is this card's level. So every time we make a match by swap, right, that's the killer, isn't it? Even if we were going to care about this card, we don't. I mean, this is so much smaller than a bloodthirsty adversary or a tainted adversary that we don't care. And even if it was making a match not by swap, I don't think any of you would care either, would you? But so what I'm saying is that it's a bad card, and even if it was a lot better, it would be a bad card. That's what I'm saying. Fortune, Loyal Steed. This is a 2/4. Why are they all so small? I reckon they've copied the numbers from paper, haven't they? 15 mana. Saddle 2. When this creature enters a battlefield, your other creatures get +2/+2. Tiny. When this creature becomes saddled, double all buff values. Oh, look at that. They were way ahead of me. There was me dismissing the +2/+2. And they were like, no, Steve, he's going to make a fool of himself because really, those creatures are going to get +4/+4. Egg all over my face now. Oh, now my creatures have got +4/+4. Don't I look stupid? At the end of your turn, if this creature is saddled, reinforce the first creature you control. I mean, fuck off. We can talk about another hour. That white one that, you get levels and it reinforces every creature, for every level it has, whatever the hell it does. We could talk about that card. I didn't even like that card that much, did I? But we can talk about that. We're not going to talk about Fortune Loyal Steed. Sorry, that conversation's not happening. Free Strider Commando. Somebody pointed out on the Discord that this is a centaur wearing spurs. Why would a centaur wear spurs? It's a very good point, actually, isn't it? Maybe there's some decorative reason in that maybe they're not spurs. This is the kind of thing I can imagine Mark Rosewater would do. People would say to him, Mark Rosewater, why are your centaurs wearing spurs? And go, oh, actually, they're not spurs. They're special. They're a special magical item, and this is the particular reason why you need to have them. Like when, do you remember when that character in Metal Gear Solid breathed through her skin, and that's why she had to wear a bikini all the time? That kind of thing. That's what I'm imagining. Does anyone have any idea what I'm talking about? No. When this creature enters the battlefield, it gets +3/+3. Well, obviously we don't care. It's almost... You almost want to call that high shit tier, don't you? That goes in that, high to mid shit tier that we're trying to think of a name of. Have you got back to me on the naming committee? Hello? Are you out there? Have you got back to me on that one? We're still after a name for Free Strider Lookout, reach 3/3 sounds bad. Crime. Beginning of combat, if you committed a crime, pick up to 2 of the first 4 cards from your library, fetch those cards, destroy the others. Those cards gain 6 mana. I mean, reach just kills that, doesn't it? This might have been one of the better crime cards that we'd seen. But reach just kills it dead. Frontier Seeker. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first mount creature or the first land support from your library, then your opponent loses the crime. But once again, it's so easy to nerf crime, isn't it? And so hard to commit crimes. I thought the whole point of this outlaw world was it was supposed to be easy to commit crimes. We were all going to be outlaws. No, apparently not. The pigs are everywhere. ACAB. I notice this doesn't give it full mana. This web core we're talking about, they love putting the words full mana on cards. What's wrong with having a mountain giving it full mana or a lander giving it full mana? I mean, would it be worth playing an 8 mana 2/1 if it gave it full mana? It might even be. It's obviously terrible having a 2/1, but, you know, maybe. But it doesn't give it full mana, so we don't care. Full steam ahead! Creatures you control get +4/+4, and trample, and menace. Trample and menace, that'll be useful. And for 12 mana. Terrible. Really terrible. Geralf, the Fleshwright. When you cast a card, increase this card's level by 1. Then if it's 3 or more, create a zombie rogue token. Well, you've got to assume that's a 2/2. It won't be a decaying zombie with bloody imminent death, we hope. But you've got to assume that a zombie rogue is a 2/2 that just happens to be an outlaw. A warlock is, of course, an outlaw. 14 mana 2/3. So we're having to put him in play and cast 2 more cards, or 3 more cards, maybe. Let's say 2. When a zombie creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +X/+X. X is the number of zombie creatures you control, including their reinforcements. Okay, so you cast a card, and then you cast another card, and then you cast a zombie. So that's a 3/3, and then you cast another card. That gives you another zombie. +2/+2. I mean, I can't be bothered to work out the maths. It's obviously so much inferior to a tainted adversary. I don't think it's interesting. It's maybe unfair to compare everything to tainted adversary because that's obviously so far above the curb, and it doesn't look like we're going to get anything. The mana draining mechanic that we had so much of when Octagon were firing on all cylinders with the adversaries and Minsk, and there was another one. Oh, Tovarl, didn't it? He used to drain mana to hit people hard. But no, this thing gets shot, and I don't like it, and it's bad. High shit tier, maybe? Is it high shit tier? See, the problem with this card when you're mastering cards is you fill up your creature slots too quick. By the time you cast this and 2 more cards, you've already filled up your creature slots, so you haven't got anywhere to put the zombies. So high, the high to mid shit tier. Naming committee, get on it. Terrible alt art as usual. Actually, not as bad as some of the alt art. Getaway Glamour. What have we got here? Spree 1, exile target creature. Then create a copy of that card in their controller's hand. Spree 2, each card in your hand that is a copy gains 6 mana. Well, that's bad. Spree 4, destroy the opposing creature with the greatest power. The opponent loses the crime emblem. It's just a fundamental misunderstanding of what the spree mechanic is about. If you play a control deck, you can't be playing for spree. You simply can't be. You can't play a control deck and be relying on you know, burst mana effects. You need consistency. Geyser Drake, when this creature enters the battlefield, all cards in your hand gain 2 mana. I can't imagine this being good. I can hear, somewhere in the distance, I can hear the gears in Opera SM's head starting to whir. All I need is another 6 or 7 cards that look like this and I can build a combo deck. That's what his brain's saying to himself. I doubt that will ever happen. But I know there are Johnnies out there looking at this card and thinking, if only. Let's do a couple more. It is getting late, and I do feel that this has been a mammoth session. So let's do a couple more cards, 2 more cards, and then let's call it a night. We will do part 2 in a couple of days, I think. But it's been fun, hasn't it? It's been all right. Has it? I don't know. I'll have to let it settle. Let's do these cards anyway. Gearhead, Mirror of the Wild. When this creature attacks, reinforce each token creature you control. I mean, wasn't there a card that we just saw just a little while ago that like reinforced like literally every creature you controlled? Isn't that a lot better than this? I mean, that's high shit tier. And Giant Beaver. Oh, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a good one to end on, does it? Giant Beaver, saddle 5, creatures you control get +1/+1. Yeah, so really, the mounts have all been shit, haven't they? They spoilt the good mount, didn't they? Do you remember what I said about Plotted earlier? And it's like, if Plotted was going to be good at all, it was going to be an effect that fetched a card, a big card, and gave it full mana. And that's what we've seen with Mount, isn't it? That the good Mount is one that fetches a card and gives it full mana. And all of the other mounts are shite. So I think we've got plenty of ways to go. How do we feel about the set file? I've no idea. I've got to, yes, like I say, I've got to let the set settle. We will keep watching the skies. You know, I'll post a date. It will not be tomorrow night. I will tell you that much. What is it? Is it Saturday today? It's Saturday today, so it won't be Sunday. It'll either be Monday or Tuesday when we do part 2 of the stream. Given that we've only got to G, then that probably means it will be a 3-part stream. But you never know. Thanks for being in, everybody, and I will see you all on the flippity flip, as Michael Scott likes to say. And also me, I think I like to say that quite a lot too. Ta-ta, everyone. Now, where's the Streamlabs thing?